Hello everyone, my name is Aryan and I'm here to present my paper slide on the classic novel Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde written by Robert Louis Stevenson. The story takes place in Victorian London and revolves around the protagonist, Mr. Gabriel Utterson, whom is a lawyer and has a client named Dr. Jekyll, a prosperous man loved by the community. As the story progresses, a murder occurs, and so begins a mystery to find out who did it. The culprit is revealed to be a Mr. Hyde, an angry man known to look deformed and be disliked by all. And so begins the manhunt to find Hyde, but throughout the story there seems to be a connection between Jekyll and Hyde. While trying to understand the connection between Jekyll and Hyde, Utterson finds a dead Hyde in the clothes of Dr. Jekyll, and it is revealed through a letter that Dr. Jekyll wrote himself that he used a potion that allowed him to become Mr. Hyde. Therefore, they were both the same person, despite being polar opposites of each other. Jekyll had apparently been fighting for control of his body from Hyde, the embodiment of all of the cruelty in Jekyll's mind. But eventually, he had come to the conclusion of suicide as he could no longer control himself anymore. What makes this novel a great piece of literature? The reasons that make this a timeless piece are the critical commentary, the author's message, and the use of genres in the story. The critical commentary. When talking about the idea of sharing two bodies, referring to Jekyll in the story, James Ashcroft Noble wrote a review on this novel stating, "The divorce between the two lives becomes so complete that he is haunted and tortured by the consciousness of a double identity, which deprives each separate life of its full measure of satisfaction." This novel is a great piece of literature as the commentary here represents the psychological aspects of sharing a body. It gives a deeper meaning into the thought process that came into creating this novel of dual personalities, which is not common back in plots during the time Robert Louis Stevenson wrote this novel. And it's through his intelligence of translating such a complex idea into a novel story plot that makes this a timeless classic that is loved all across the world. The author's message. Throughout this novel, the author tends to press on the message that man has two forms, an angel and a fiend. This is expressed in the story when Jekyll says, "Man is not truly, but truly two." And the reveal of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde being the same person is a more visual way of representing that message. These ideals are what make the story a timeless classic. Through representing the goods and bads of human nature in a visual sense, the changing of Dr. Jekyll, who is a good man and loved almost universally, to Mr. Hyde, who is an angry, deformed man, almost hated universally, Robert Louis Stevenson had effectively proven to everyone that not everyone is perfect, and that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, who were polar opposites of each other, were therefore the perfect heralds to convey this message as they shared one body. And because of this, it will be remembered forever as a story that showed that two very different people can still be the same person. The final reason for me believing this is a great piece of literature is a clever use of genres. By portraying the novel as a mystery, it keeps the reader more inclined to follow the protagonist as he tries to solve this murder mystery and even tests the reader to solve it themselves. This enigmatic aspect plays very well in the setting of London, as there always seems to be some kind of veil or fog that accompanies most of the scenes in the novel, which is a great use of the literary device pathetic fallacy. Not to mention, the reveal of Hyde plays a bit more to the supernatural, despite being based in a grounded universe. Those additions make the story seem to adhere more towards a bigger world, with grander ideals and themes not noticed at a first glance. In conclusion, the novel is a great piece of literature and it can be supported by these three things. The story's critical commentary, which saw the intelligent psychological thought that went into the writing of the novel, the author's message translated into the idea that there is a good side and a bad side to every person, but it's how you control them that makes you who you are. And finally, the genres in the story, the mystery and supernatural genres in particular, that keep the reader interested and involved with the story. My name is Aryan, and I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. My question to you is, What type of person would you fight to be? And would you succumb to your own desires or choose to overcome them? Thank you for listening, and goodbye.